This is a follow-up to a workshop that we did previously on the theory of usability, where we went more in depth into the why behind the what. But what we wanted to build for you guys as a resource was the what. We wanted to build a template that you could use that mapped out all of the theory that we discussed in this previous workshop. We do have a link to that previous workshop inside this course, but this is really just going to be an exploration of the resource that we've built for you and explain if you want to use it, here's what it is and here's how to use it and that kind of thing. So we're not going to dive into a lot of theory in this particular workshop. This is really more focused on here's what we built for you and and here's how you can access it and here are the resources that are inside of it to help you use it successfully. So we're going to start with, what is this template? So, I know you guys can all read for yourself, but essentially what we're calling it is the usability best practice template. This is a resource that Daniel and I have been working on for over a month now to build for you guys that is meant to support 3 possible teaching modalities. Asynchronous, for those of you that are going to be mostly maybe doing recorded lectures, posting resources, building discussion boards, and having activities and assignments that are meant to be completed by a certain due date that you're then going to grade and give the students credit for the work that they're turning in. For those of you that want to do a synchronous approach, this is going to be for faculty that want to have scheduled lectures and meeting times where all the students and the faculty gather together for those lectures and discussions. And they're going to be primarily getting credit for their attendance during those set times. And then a blended approach, which is where you might have a scheduled weekly lecture, but you also have resources and discussions and assignments and stuff like that populated in the course and have set due dates that they then need to complete those assignments, and they get credit for both attendance and for the work that they're turning in. And really the neat feature about this template is that we have baked in the best practices of usability into the way that the course is designed, which, but it's a template, so that's still allowing you to customize it based on not only the modality that you're going to use, but also populate it with your own course content. So why might you want to use the template? Well, Daniel and I were kind of joking around while we made this PowerPoint, but usability is really just a theory based on how do you make everybody's life easier. Whether you're navigating a learning experience or using a tool or cooking a meal, and I was chuckling. I'm like, where do we think casseroles came from, right? Like, how do you make life easier? And so we, really wanted to give you a resource that would allow you to make things easier on yourself and your students by creating a course that's easy to navigate for your students and that's well set up for you so that it makes your teaching and your grading workflow more seamless. So because this template was built on usability best practice, when you go in and populate it, you will be able to set up an experience for the students because we kept them in mind as well, that they will have less questions about, well, how do I find this? Or where do I go for that? Or this thing isn't working for me. And I'm confused. And that will allow you to really focus on teaching what you're there to teach, not teaching them how to use Blackboard. But another thing that I wanted to bring up is that when you build a course master, it allows you to set up your whole course and get everything working. And then if you're going to be teaching multiple sections of a course, for example, you're going to ask the academic technology department to make you sections of that course master. So I know that it can feel daunting when you're thinking about like, well, oh my God, this is a lot of work to set up this whole course. Well, technically you should be setting it up once and then having that course replicated into multiple sections so that you can then teach in those live sections, and your course master should not be taught from, so that it doesn't get messed up. And then after you get feedback from your students about, maybe things you could have fixed in the course, you can go back and fix that in your course master, and then that can be then replicated again in the next semester. So it's really a way for you to create an asset that you will use again and again, and that you can go in and tweak and make better, because it's an iterative process when we teach, right? It's not like we're going to get it perfect the first time. So we want to help you use a method that will preserve your work so that you can build something that will last, and you don't have to do it again and again and again and again every single semester for multiple sessions. So that was one thing I wanted to point out about using this method. I will pause really quickly to see if anyone has any questions. Okay. Oops, sorry. That seems to have gone too far. There we go. All right. So if you're wondering how to get a hold of the template, all you need to do is submit a ticket. And when you submit that ticket, just make sure that you're requesting a course shell and asking to have the usability best practice template installed in it. Once you get that course shell, you're going to want to go ahead and gather all of the resources that you need for your course, your syllabus, your textbook information, any notes on assignments that you want to build, any pictures that you want to put in the course, stuff like that. I usually recommend that you put it into a folder for each course and just give it a title, especially if you're teaching multiple courses. And then another resource that I'm going to have embedded in the course for you is called a course scope and sequence. It's just a Word document that you'll use to write out your course first, like just on a Word document. And then you'll have that already done, and you won't lose your work, because sometimes Blackboard can crash on us, or your internet could go down or something like that. So you don't want to be building straight into Blackboard. It's better for you to write your material, all your notes and stuff for your assignments on a Word document or a Google document, something like that, and save that as part of your course file, so that in case you have any technical issues, you don't lose all that time and energy you spent writing. But I will have that course scope and sequence embedded into the course for you. So that's how you access it, though. You're just going to submit that ticket and say, hey, I want this course shell, and I want the template installed, and all of the resources will be embedded in the course for you. Because I essentially did both. It's a very meta project. Not only do you have the template that's available for you to populate and give you, a map for what to put in there, but I also built, well, I shouldn't say just me, Daniel and I worked very hard on building in a course, like a mini course inside the course shell, packed with resources to help you at any point in time use the template and build a really great user experience for your students. With that, I am going to stop sharing, because I think it's time for you guys to get to see this thing. All right, Daniel, you're up.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone see my screen and hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. Sounds good. Just in case. All right. So hello, everyone. My name is Daniel. Welcome to our master course that we've put together over here. Our course master, I guess. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the course a little bit and go through some of the aspects and how we've set all this up. And we'll take questions in the middle and whatever. And of course, feel free to interrupt us and ask away. So with that being said, let us start off with the landing page. So we have created this this wonderful course landing page that's basically meant for you and the students to be welcome into the class. Now, if you'll notice, we have all this highlighted stuff and everything, and we'll get into how that works a little bit. So the basic premise of how everything works and how this whole thing is structured is anything that is highlighted is something that you as the professor need to pay attention to, something that might need changing, something that might need editing. And to do that, or to edit anything really, to do that, we'll go up here to the gray chevron, click edit. And as soon as my computer decides to load, you will have this text editor, and you can edit anything in the section. Anything I'm missing? Oh yes, this image placeholder just is a place for you to put an image. So if there is an image that you think is representative of the course or representative of anything for the section, by all means, you can replace this. So for example, Jacqueline and I made a course last time for the Cold War because we are both very much history nerds. And so we chose a picture of one of the things with the Cuban Missile Crisis as a representative of the course. But of course, anything that represents your class or your subject or whatever you're teaching, you can replace this image with. It's here as a placeholder. So we're going to cancel that.
Go ahead and jump to the sample landing page just so that the audience can see what it looks like.
Yes, we will get into how to find all these things, but Jacqueline does have a point. Let's see. So this is what it kind of looks like when we did it. So you see how we had an image and the quote was different and all that. We kept this in here also so you guys can use it as like a reference point to see like what we did.
And the
Jacqueline,
reason that
go ahead.
Sorry, the reason that we set it up this way is that courses can get cluttered very quickly with lots of pictures, and really we want to build clean because we want the students to be able to focus on what the story of the course is and what we're really trying to teach them. And I've seen so many courses that faculty have developed over the years that they put so much time and energy into putting lots of pictures and GIFs and images and all kinds of stuff. And it makes for a very cluttered page that students will kind of grumble about, well, I can't find anything, or I don't know what to click on. So we just tried to show you an example, again, going back to that usability theory of not to make them think too hard. But I also understand that faculty feel very passionate about their topics, and we want to be able to tell the story of our course. So having pictures in our course can make for a really beautiful environment. But with this approach, we will skip the clutter. So for every landing page, having a course landing page and a unit landing page with a picture that's representative of the topic of that unit will give you an opportunity to express yourself, but also still build a really clean environment. Go ahead, Daniel.
All right, and with that, we will continue on to the next page. So now that we've kind of identified that this is the pattern that kind of goes on, anything in highlighted is something that you should look at. We'll go on to the Meet Your Professor page. This is the page where you would where you show your picture. This is what I study. This is why I'm teaching the class. Yada yada yada. But another thing we added into the course specifically is we added for a lot of the pages this need help developing this page tab. It's hidden from students, so you can leave it here and your students will not be able to see what this is. But we've included, so if I click on this one, we've included a bunch of resources like how-to tutorials and different links and resources for you guys to use to help develop the page, right? So for this one, to Meet Your Professor one, we put in, how to put in a profile picture or a welcome video. We put in how to access Zoom and how to put a Zoom link for your office hours. So these tutorials are meant to help you guys out and so you don't have to go and submit a ticket to academic technology, or you don't have to scour the web to find out, oh, this is how you do it. These resources are already baked into the class, so you can find them quickly and be able to apply them fairly easily. I'm going to scroll back up so I can click the next tab. But Jacqueline, is there anything I missed here?
The only thing I would point out is that, again, this was a very meta project. By us baking the resources for you to use the course, or the template into the template itself, is demonstrating what the whole point of usability is. So a lot of the things that you'll see in the course with regards to the student experience, we tried to put that into the faculty experience too. We don't want you to have to go digging around to find the instructions on how to do the specific things, just like the way that we set up the left-hand navigation bar and the boilerplate instructions and stuff like that, is because we don't want the students to be confused either. So the whole point of the way that we built this experience was not just to make it easier for you to get your course stood up quickly, but also to really help you experience what the whole point of usability is. We don't want you to have to think, any harder either. We want to make the experience as easy as possible. So that's why I kind of joked about it. This is being a very meta project, is that not only do we want to give you something to give your students that will make it easier for them to do their work, but we wanted to show you through using this template how it could be easier for you to do your work too.
That is actually very well put. We are using usability for everyone here. So moving on real quick, we're going to go to the course syllabus. Now, not all the resources for every single page are exactly the same. And one of the biggest examples of this is the course syllabus. And while we were discussing, what should we do, we decided on this format because there are no two syllabi that are exactly the same. Different departments have different standards, different schools have different standards, even different classes have, different things going on with them. And and different teachers, different professors have different ways of making their syllabi. So because syllabi are very specific, we decided that the best thing to do would be to just list the resources that we can to help you guys. So we listed some CSUDH stuff, like we have the syllabus regulation and some sample syllabi. We have some other schools and some other resources. I highly recommend this one, the Kevin Gannon article. I read that before I had to make a syllabus for a class, and definitely helped me out. On top of, so I just wanted to point out, especially with like this page, that we have several different resources that everyone can tap into, and just to help make everything easy to find, make the information that you guys need easy to find. And then one last note, of course, we included from our past course a sample course syllabus that we had. So we included a template that you guys can edit. I guess you see with like all these course policies, we have notes, and we included our course syllabus, so you can see kind of what we were doing. Moving back up one last bit, we will go to the course rubrics page. So in our last workshop on usability, we had a rubrics page, which was basically screenshots of rubrics. In fact, I can show it right here because this is one of the resources we provide. Just screenshots of rubrics that you use to grade assignments on Blackboard. But again, because this can be a little specific to everyone, we decided that we'll have the sample and we'll give you some resources. So we have a screencast on how to make and take pictures of and make this page for rubrics. And we also have the workshop that we did specifically on rubrics. So you guys can watch that and understand the theory and also some of the how-to. Before
Yeah.
we move on to the
We
lecture
actually
hall.
walk through,
Oh, go ahead.
we walk through in that workshop how to develop rubrics. So for those of you that haven't used rubrics, we did a full, I don't know, that was at least an hour that we talked about what rubrics are, how to you know, why you should use them, how to develop them in Blackboard. We go over all of that. So for those of you that are curious about using this feature for your assessment purposes, please do check out that workshop because it'll answer a lot of questions. The screencast that I developed below is really just to show you just the quick how-to on, you know, taking a picture of the rubric that you developed and posting it into a page so that your students can see it.
So this is the natural stopping point before we go to lecture hall. Are there any questions so far? Alrighty. We will keep going into the lecture hall part of the course. And this is, and we will first start with the course announcements page. So on your left-hand navigation bar over here. So the course announcements page is actually a very interesting page, and in my opinion, is probably one of the biggest pages for student and faculty engagement. So we have basically three types of announcements, really. And the biggest, the first one we're going to start off with is this top one up here, which is the pinned announcement. This is the anytime a student goes into the course announcements page and wants to say, hey, what has my professor said this week? They will see this, this announcement. And the announcement is meant to be like a poster for the course, or at least like a brief summary of what's happening in the course. This is basically the information that they'll need on a regular basis. So in this little announcement, we've put in like a brief intro to the course, you know, some brief course topics and some assignments that they'll need to know, whether they're weekly assignments like a weekly discussion forum response, or short assignments, or exams and projects that are due on a specific date that is already predetermined. Also, putting office hours or a way to contact you is also highly recommended, and we've even included a course link to the office hours. And if you're wondering where you can find the office, how to do the office hours link, we did it in the Meet Your Professor page. Basically, this is just meant to keep this information at the top of people's minds and making sure that students understand this is the general idea of the course. But now we get into the interesting part, which are the announcements, part 1 and part 2. So I'll put this there. These announcements are meant basically for student engagement, to keep students accountable. When you make an announcement, an email gets sent to every student saying, hey, you know, your teacher has said something. And this is just to, you know, keep students on their toes and make sure that, you know, they're reminded of things. We suggest having, you know, 2 announcements a week, one usually at the very beginning. So usually Sunday night, Monday morning, you know, basically going over and reviewing the week, right? Saying, you know, hey, how is everyone? On this week, we will cover this topic. These are the assignments due, so make sure that you post responses or whatever assignments you have for that week. And, you know, reminder of office hours or anything particular. And, you know, then you're, We got a question. Let me finish this point and I'll get to the question. And then, just signing off. And you can also include a link to the week that your students are going through at that moment.
Right.
I'll get to the question now so we can get this. Students
Well,
always.
so basically the way that I like to put it is for every announcement that you send out, you have two goals. Set expectations, that's with your first announcement, and remind of expectations with your second announcement. So it's just, hey guys, welcome to, this week. This is what we're working on. Here's what we're going to be studying. Here are all the things that I expect you to do in order to get full credit for the class this week. And then I'll have a link to where they need to go, like inside the classroom, that they can just click on it and go right there and start doing their work. And then I will follow up with them and nag them around, Thursday, never later than Thursday, because a lot of times we'll have assignments due on Friday or Saturday. But Thursday is just reminding them of the expectations that I set for each week. And I do it every single week. It's just like clockwork, just bug. So it's just, again, part of it is to stay engaged, but also part of it is usability. It's just, here you go, guys. I'm reminding you of what I want from you this week. And so they can't come back to me and say, well, I didn't know. Well, how come you didn't know? I reminded you twice in 1 week that this is what I expected of you. And this is what, you need to have done by now, or you need to make sure you get it done within the next day or two. So it kind of cuts down on a lot of the excuses and the whining that come with just students saying, well, I didn't know. No, don't say you didn't know because I reminded you twice every week what it is that I'm expecting you to do. So it's just setting expectations and reminding of expectations.
Yes. To get to the question that was posed, it was about whether students get email notifications or if they have to accept or turn it off. I believe it is automatic that they get email notifications if they're in your class.
Actually, Daniel, it's not.
It's not.
Can you go up to, can you create one, please?
Yeah, of course.
Really quickly. Okay. Do you see that checkbox down at the bottom that says email announcement? You have to click that box. If you don't click that box, they don't get an email. It just goes into their global navigation message center. So every time you create an announcement, just make sure you click that box.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that is right.
Can I make one correction to that?
Oh, sure, absolutely. If I said something incorrect.
Yeah. Well, they actually get an email, but if they have turned off notifications via email off, then that send email immediately will override that notification setting on their end and will actually deliver or send the email.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Thank
So
you,
it's just
Stella.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
I've had a mix of students this semester saying, oh yeah, I got the notification, and then other ones saying, no, I didn't see it. So that explains it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
same thing also.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, same thing also applies if the course is not yet available. So like, let's say it's a week or two before the semester begins, you have the course locked, like the students can't access it yet, and you need to send an announcement. You can go ahead and check that box and it will go through.
Awesome. Thank you.
All righty. Cancel that because I don't want to send an email to everyone in the course.
Any other questions though so far around announcements or?
Oh, one last comment from me before I forget about this, because this was something I highlighted on my notes, is that especially for the the Thursday announcement that Jacqueline mentioned, just like, the second reminder, one of my professors when I was in college did something similar, but she also put in like some just general class notes about, you know, hey, I was on the discussion forum and I saw that a lot of people were struggling with something. Here's some more resources that'll help you clarify. Or, you know, just like a general like check-in with the class in general. So if you see something that's going on, that people aren't understanding a certain topic, or people aren't understanding a certain thing or idea, and you'd like to address it, this is a way to address the entire class and get, you know, maybe some extra resources out there, or, you know, reinforce like, hey, if you need help, I'm here for office hours, things like that. That is completely optional. You can always just stick to the reminding, say, hey, this is what we have this week, things like that. But I thought that was a nice touch from my professor. So
Yeah, I'm
we'll
glad you
keep it
brought that
going.
up. That's a great touch. I'm the consummate mom, so I just, you know, use my announcements to nag my kids mercilessly. But if you want to use your announcements to be nice.
Yep. And that's the, so that is the end of course announcements. Jacqueline, take it away for lecture schedule.
Ah, yes. So for those of you that want to teach a synchronous component to your class, the way that I set this up is I look at it as a place for the students to be able to go. Again, just don't want them to have to dig or look through emails or announcements or anything like that to find the links and the time slots for their lectures. So what I recommend is that you set up a table with, you know, if you're going to, for example, have them meet with you once a week. And this is for not just synchronous, but hybrid. So for those of you that are expecting them to be turning in assignments and stuff like that, but also they have to attend, you know, a weekly lecture, then I recommend that you set up a table and that you have the link straight into the meeting room. And then of course we have to have a meeting code so that we are protecting the privacy of the classroom. And just put all that information into the table, including the date and the time. And if you can scroll down, Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a couple other components. So if I'm asking students to show up for a lecture, especially if it's blended, I'll say, okay, if you miss a lecture, no worries, because usually in my grade book, I'll set up points for just attending the lecture. Now, I really want my students to come to the lecture so that they can participate and get to know each other and have that that community. So I'm going to give them 10 points just for showing up. Even if they don't talk a lot, I want them to come to the lecture. If they miss a lecture, that's fine. I don't want to punish them. I want to give them an opportunity to make up those points. So I have a component where I say, well, if you missed the lecture, you can take a very brief quiz in order to get your attendance points. But what I say is, depending on how you answer your discussion questions, you're not necessarily going to get full credit if you can't answer the question, because if they miss the lecture, they need to be able to listen to the recording and then take a short quiz in order to show me that they actually paid attention while they were in, you know, sitting through that recorded lecture. So that's why I always have a page that allows them to listen to the recorded lecture and then take that quiz and answer the same discussion questions that I use to engage my class during our synchronous session. And now, again, I know there's several parts to this page. So if you need help with that, you can click on that needs help developing page. And I already have a video there for you on how to build a lecture schedule. And I owe you one video, which I'm going to finish today. It just has several parts to it on how to set up, you know, to record your lectures and then put them into Nomia. And then from there, put a link to that lecture and build the quiz and stuff like that. So I do owe you one video, but that's all going to be in that page for you to help you set this up if you're going to be doing either a synchronous course or a blended course with a synchronous component. Now, I have a couple spots, if you go back to lecture schedule, you might notice that I have a comment at the below. If you scroll down, you click missed a lecture. It's just going to take you to the same page that's in the left-hand navigation bar that, is for makeup lectures. And so what I do is, if you notice, I have a week 1 lecture and there's a link to a recorded lecture. And then I've also got the week 1 lecture makeup. So for every single week that I do a lecture, I basically build a block, 2 blocks for every single week. I have the lecture itself for them to listen to the recording, and then I make a quiz with just the exact same discussion questions that I use to engage the class during the synchronous component. And so I just kind of build that out as my semester progresses. And I also have notes about when I'm going to have, when I promise to have my link posted and the quiz posted. And that's what's up in the highlighted section of, okay, well, what do I do if I missed my discussion or I missed the lecture? How do I get my attendance points? That's how I give the students the opportunity to still participate asynchronously, just because they, life happens and they just weren't able to get to class. So that's really what the lecture hall is all about. And then I also include an additional link in lecture hall, even if you're not going to be teaching a synchronous component to your course. The attend office hours is just another link for students to get to you with a schedule on when you're going to be holding office hours. And I do have a short video on how to make those tables and paste them into Blackboard. It's very simple. I believe I stuck it in, where did I end up sticking it, Daniel?
We had a way to make tables through course calendar up here.
Yes.
So actually that brings me to a good point, if I can interrupt for a second.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it's very important that when you make your course, like to start off over here in the the get started page, because not only will this set like the tone for your course, it'll also give you the skills and show you like how to make a table, how to do all of that first, and then you can use all of those tutorials and everything to come down to the lecture hall here and make a table or things like that.
Yeah, but can you go to the course calendar page, because I don't think you talked about that.
Let's see. Need help developing this page? Yeah, it's right here.
Okay, very good. So the course calendar it's kind of similar to what I was just talking about with regards to giving students a visual representation that establishes a pattern and a rhythm to what you expect of them. And a lot of the usability theory really goes to setting those expectations early on so that you train the students to understand you need to do this thing every Tuesday, every Thursday, every Friday, every Sunday. Whatever pattern that you want them to turn the assignments in, the more consistently you can make it, the more that they're just going to come to expect, like, oh, it's Tuesday, I have to turn in my discussion assignment, for this class. But it's also a good exercise for faculty because it forces us to really sit down and think about, well, when do I want things due and why? And am I spacing assignments out in a way that's appropriate so that the students don't get overwhelmed? But really, publishing that information as soon as possible, preferably at the beginning of the course, so that expectation is set, and then you won't have students scrambling as much because they had no idea, they didn't realize that they needed to have something turned in by a certain date. But that's why I make that visual representation with a calendar. If you scroll down a little bit, please. We also have a blank course calendar that you can download as a Word document to populate yourself with your assignments. And if you scroll back up. So this one right here is just a sample, but you can also click that link right here where it says, how do I set up my course calendar page? I just made a screencast for you guys that will show you how to do it, but you didn't need to click that.
Well, it'll take a bit of a while, so we'll ignore that.
So those resources are all there for you in order to set up your own calendar page. And that screencast will help you as well with setting up your any of the pages that you find that have these tables in them, including the course syllabus. If you like the sample syllabus that we included, and you want to use those tables. And it's the same thing. I just want to give visual representations and set expectations for what I want from the students day one. And it will help them stay organized and just be less confused. And it will result in less questions for you. So anything you want to add to that, Daniel?
No, other than, yeah, so we have this blank course calendar that's a document. So it's a Word document that you'll download, you'll fill it out, and then you can just copy and paste it into the course, into the section as outlined by the link screencast that we have.
Okay.
That being said, I think that's it,
covered
right?
the office hours already, right?
Yeah, we covered office hours.
Okay, so I think we can move on to units.
Yes, one last thing before I forget. For the office hours, make sure one of the things that sometimes happens for professors that I've noticed is that they have like 2 links for office hours because they made one link for one time and another link for another time. The link for your office hours should be all the same. So when you make the link, when you first start making the link under the Meet Your Professor page that we have, that's the link that you use all the time for any office hours. For any time you want to link to your office hours page, it's the link under Meet Your Professor. But that's it. That's all I got.
Okay. So let's move on to units.
Yeah, but before we do, any questions?
Yeah, questions. Anyone have questions?
All right, then we will just dive into units. So in this sample course, we made 4 units, and each one of them look pretty much the same as this one. So when you step into one of the units, we have like a unit landing page, very similar to the course landing page we had, and it follows many of the same rules. I'm going to scroll down here for a minute. You know, anything in highlighted is something that you should be changed or looked at or should be altered to fit your course. And of course, we have a nice photo in the middle. As we did last time, let me show you what it looks like from from our previous course, our Cold War course. So this is kind of what we did, and we thought, and you know, we edited everything so it reflects what the course is. By all means, use this as a resource to model your course after. And this is just meant as a again, this is like a poster for students to be like, okay, I'm in this unit. This is what we are talking about. This is what I'm expected to know, and this is what I'm going to do. I know it sounds like we're repeating ourselves a little bit, but you know, again, we just want to make all of this information easy and accessible to students so they're not confused. Wait, we got a question. No question, false alarm. So if we go back to the unit, of course, the unit landing page is all fun and dandy, but what about the actual activities in the week? Well, we have these folders here, week 1, week 2, and week 3. So we'll go to week 1, where these are where the assignments, discussions, things they need to read, all the stuff lives. And as you can see here, we've made our, week 1 resources, our discussion forums, our assignments, our quizzes, things like that. And as per usual, we have our nice and dandy, need some help building the week, which if we click on it, leads us to this center that we call the Course Development Support Center. And in this page, which you can also find on your left-hand navigation bar at the bottom over here, includes a lot of tutorials and resources for you to use to help develop assignments or tests, quizzes, content items that you can use. So for example, if I wanted to make a discussion assignment and I didn't know how, I could go to how do I develop the discussion assignment here in the Course Development Support Center. And there are some resources ready and listed. Stay. So the first thing we have is a workshop that Jacqueline and I did for how to make discussions, how to write discussions. We also have some Blackboard tutorials on how to create discussion forums, the technology behind it, and what things to click and where and how. And we also have a video resource from CSUDH on how to create a discussion forum and how to make it gradable. So we've included all this information, already, for lack of a better word, baked into the unit and the weekly activities. If we go back real quick, there is one point that I do need to make, especially for week 1. So for all this, it functions a little, when we're dealing with assignments, it functions a little differently than every other page that we've worked on. I can't just, click on the little chevron over here, say edit, and just edit all the stuff. To do this sort of thing, to make my own discussion forum or make my own discussion assignment or short essay assignment or quiz, I have to make it from scratch. This is what it's supposed to look like, and it should have all this boilerplate stuff that we've included. But because every assignment is attached to its own separate questions bank or own post area, the way it works here is that if I want to make a discussion assignment, I would have to go and make my own discussion assignment from here, or I'd have to make my own quiz using the assessments tab, things like that. And all of the information on how to do that is in our handy dandy Course Development Support Center at the bottom of the page. And it will explain, how to create all the quizzes, assignments, discussions, everything like that. I believe we have a question. Oh, never mind, false alarm again. Jacqueline, is there anything I missed for the units? Because I know that's a lot of information to take in.
Yeah, it is a lot. But no, you definitely pointed out something critical. And this is really where it goes back to using that scope and sequence template that I'm going to be adding into the course as well. Because what you can do is you can copy and paste these boilerplate instructions into the Word document, write your course, get it all ready and organized, and then go in and build out these assignments yourself. So we just wanted to show you really what these units should look like so that they're well organized. And then the only other point that I like to make is that you want your units, your building blocks in your course page to be organized in the order that you want students to work on them. So you're going to want to write your resource page or your resource block first, because obviously they need to consume the resources that are supposed to support them in order to answer a discussion question. And if your discussion question is the first thing that's due that week, put the discussion block first, and then they'll have their assignment or their essay or whatever they need to write or do that's probably going to be due later in the week. So put that next. And then after that, they're going to have their assessment on whether or not they consumed the resources. That'll be last. And after that, you'll have a link to move them along to the next week. That's really more of a convenience because sometimes students get a little bit lost when they're navigating the course. But that's really the main reason that we put this template together the way that we did, even though you have to go in and really build your own stuff. But we want to just remind you for every single unit and every single week that this is the direction that it needs to flow, because we want students to be following along, you know, the yellow brick road, as I called it, in the course of this is what I want you to do in the order that I want you to do it, and here's when it's due. And that way they don't have to think about it too much of like, well, where do I need to go? What should I work on first? Okay, well, first you need to read your resources. Next, you need to do your discussion assignment. After that, you can start working on your essay or whatever your project is. It doesn't matter, but just make sure that you put all of your work in the order that you want them to work on it in. And if you can put that all together on your course scope and sequence, it'll make it faster for you to build it out once you're ready to get into that development phase for your course.
And that is a good way to end the units. Any questions about creating units, putting content into these little boxes? I know we threw a lot of information at you this section. All right. Well, so we will just continue down the left-hand navigation bar. So the next little thing we did was create a student lounge under study group. This is a place where students can talk to each other and ask each other questions, and just like a free forum where people can just ask anything. Maybe it's clarification on an assignment or technical questions, whatever it is, they can post it over here in this student lounge link. As for the actual title and everything, this is all up to you. You can be creative with it. For our course on the Cold War, we call this the common forum, which is like a place where back then all the communists used to get together and talk in this like little forum. Either way, we made that as our little place where students can meet and talk and figure things out. We highly suggest you keep this in the course, as it provides a way for students to interact with each other.
We also highly suggest that you loosely monitor it because students might be asking questions about assignments that, while they might be helping each other, it's a way for you to keep your finger on the pulse of the class, just in case there's any issues that are being brought up that you may wish to address. But the student lounge is really it's supposed to be a free space. They might be exchanging information about activities that they might want to gather for, or anything they want. It should just be a place for them to talk about whatever they want to amongst each other. But as a faculty member, I always would go in and loosely monitor it and just kind of click through it and see what kinds of things might have been coming up, especially if there was some question about an assignment and they needed my input or something like that.
Yep.
And yes, that is a discussion forum, Christopher. So when you create this page, you're just making a landing page and you're creating a discussion forum. Daniel, can you show him? Can you go into the
so we're going to go to the
forum?
discussion section that we've created. And here we are. So over here is the student lounge that we created. And should we just get to the discussion, how to do this discussion part now, Jacqueline?
Sure.
Yeah, so we're going to skip for a minute. And we under quick links, we created 2 major quick links. Check your grades, so students can check their grades. This is standard for all students. You don't really need to touch it. And then monitor discussions. And this page is where all the discussions that are available in the course, that are available to students or to everyone, are listed here. Of course, as the professor, you can look at all the unavailable or unlisted ones for students, but everything is here. And we made this again so students have multiple ways to access their discussion forum assignments or the student lounge or any of that. So they don't have to go digging through emails to find that one link that said one thing, and then that's how they can answer their assignment. They can always go through the monitor discussions page, find the discussion forum that they need to respond to, and then answer it. As for how to set up a discussion forum, we included a little bit of that in our Course Development Support Center under How Do I Make Discussion Assignments? But in this section, we included a template for you to use, which is this one, catchy title here. And we included a discussion assignment that we had for our sample course on the Cold War. And it goes through, what sections you need to have and how to set up the assignment, things like that.
Oh, we also did an entire workshop on the art of writing a discussion question.
Yep, which is also in the Course Development Support Center.
No, I think that's in faculty workshops.
It is also in faculty workshops. You are right about that as well.
Yes. So if you find yourself struggling with how to write a good discussion question that gets students engaged, now, especially if you're going to be doing an asynchronous only course, discussion forums are very, very critical to classroom engagement and community building.
Agreed. That being said, we will go back up for a minute and go to this link that we've provided. It's called Your Group. Now, not every course in the world, or not every course on Blackboard has groups. And say you're in a class where I don't really need groups. No one's doing anything. We don't need a group. The class is small enough. Things are happening. And you want to delete a whole page off the left-hand navigation bar. Just to show you how that works, you can click on the gray chevron here next to the page, and then click delete, and it'll delete the page.
Go ahead and show them that, though. Just go ahead and delete it, because it gives you a bunch of scary notices that, so are you sure you want to delete this menu item? Yes, I want to delete it. And then it's going to ask you again, are you really sure?
Are you sure? It's going to say yes, get it out. And that's it. It'll take you to your landing page, and voila, there is no group.
So you'll go through that process for anything that you decide that you don't need. So if you're like, well, I'm not going to do any lectures, so I don't need the lecture schedule or the makeup lectures tab. You're going to go through that same process. It's just, you're going to click delete. It's going to ask you twice, are you super, super sure you want to delete this? And you can just go ahead and get rid of it. So the left-hand navigation bar really is meant for you to customize it based on the teaching modality that you're planning to use for your course. So don't let Blackboard scare you when you are trying to get rid of stuff from your left-hand navigation bar that you don't need. If you're doing a fully asynchronous course, feel free to modify the lecture hall. I'd say leave office hours and announcements there, but get rid of the lecture stuff. If you're going to be teaching a blended course, then you're going to want to use most of this. And if you are going to be teaching a synchronous course, you may wish to leave, you might want to not have such fully built out course units. You may only want to have a midterm and a final. It's really up to you. We just wanted to point out that we populated this left-hand navigation bar and the structure of it for a blended course because that's the most complicated one, because it has both components. But if you're going to be going in one direction or the other, you can go through and delete the things that you don't need so that you don't have such a cluttered left-hand navigation bar.
Yes, and all that also leads into the whole point of this course that we created. It basically, this is meant to fit your needs. So if there's something that doesn't fit your needs, or something that you need to change in whatever way it needs to happen, then by all means, you're open to edit this as much as you'd like. Take things out that might not apply to you, and mess around with everything. That being said, Jacqueline, do you want to go through how to do all the faculty resources?
Sure. So essentially, if you go down here to the bottom, this section is for you. We have a few different pages, and we've kind of already reviewed them to some extent, but all of this is made unavailable to the students. So you can leave this here and refer to it anytime you need. If you click on how do I use this course, the workshop that we're doing right now here together is going to be listed for you, and you can review it anytime you like. And then if you go back down and click on the Course Development Support Center, and you'll also refer to this already, but this is more of the how do I, how do I write a learning objective? Can you click on that, please?
Yep.
This is one of those topics that honestly could use a workshop all of its own, but I tried to pull some different resources for you guys so that if you need any assistance to write better learning objectives for your course units, that you could kind of get some information on the Bloom's taxonomy and how to write a learning objective that's going to be connected to the assignments and activities that you're giving students, and they're ultimately going to feed into your assessment. So like I said, it's a deep topic. I could do a minimum of an hour workshop alone on how to do proper learning objectives, but I wanted to at least give you some resources that I found that were already developed to give you some support if you feel like you could use some assistance on how to write good learning objectives. But most of the rest of the resources are really on the how-tos of, well, I don't know how to make a discussion board. How do I do that? Or I don't know actually how to develop a rubric. I've never done that before. Or how do I deal with the grading center, which is, again, is another workshop that I could probably do at least an hour on. But we try to give you some support on some of the more common questions. And if there's anything that you're really struggling with, you can always reach out to our team to get one-on-one support. But we did try to put some resources in there for you to help you answer those more common questions. And if you want to click on course exemplars, this is just the resources that we built for our discussion workshop and our usability workshop that you can just click on and kind of see, like, well, what are they talking about? What should it look like in the end? And that's all there for you based on a real course topic. And Daniel and I totally nerded out and started building a course on the Cold War. So you can get a sense of, based on your topic, well, what should it look like if I'm going to follow this format? So we've got some examples for you. And then we also have our center for all of the workshops that Daniel and I did on instructional design. Just instructional design topics, I guess I should say. So this is where you're going to get those deeper dives. So if you're saying, well, you guys keep mentioning usability, what are you talking about? So if you click on that link there for building the yellow brick road, that's going to go much more deeply into theory. Well, you didn't need to click on it, Daniel.
Yeah, no.
It's going to go much more deeply into the theory behind everything that we've been discussing today with this course that we built for you. And then, again, we've got some more topics on how to create a discussion assignment, and how do you work with rubrics for those of you that want to do formative and summative assessment, then you might be interested in the portfolio topic. So we tried to include as much as possible of what we've developed over the last 6 months to help you with the theory behind why we built the course the way that we did. And those are all for you to be consumed at your leisure. I know you guys are kind of dealing with finals and stuff like that, and you're going to be prepping for the spring semester. So that's all there for you to help you use the course. And then the only other thing I'll say is for the course resources, I just try to include some of the more common things that students might need to get to, like the library, the writing center, our help desk. Again, just so they don't have to dig. If they need help, just try to have it all there at their fingertips, so that, because if you think about the way our brains work, we don't know we need help until the moment we're in trouble. So if someone is stuck on something, we want to be able to just find it immediately because our brains are focused on that problem that we need to solve. So a lot of why we put things in this left-hand navigation bar that we did and the resources that we included is that we didn't want you to have to feel frustrated and dig around or send an email and wait for a reply, that kind of thing, at least for too long. So we try to include a lot of resources into the course template itself that would allow you to build your course much more quickly and hopefully with less frustration. And then, you know, for the students, that it would be less frustrating for them as well. That's why we have so many quick links. I think that about covers it. Daniel, do you have any thoughts that you want to add?
No, other than yeah, so these workshops are really useful if you want to know about the theory and why we designed things the way we did. And you know, all the reasoning behind, you know, why having rubrics, why having discussion boards and things like that. But yeah, this faculty resources page is your friend. This helps answer a lot of questions. That's why we put it there.
Any questions from the group?
If that is the case, I will stop sharing. Jacqueline, the floor is yours.
Okay. Let's see. I think we could go ahead and stop recording.